Job chapter 4 and 5. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, If one ventures a word with you, will you be impatient? Yet who can keep from speaking? Behold, you have instructed many, and you have strengthened the weak hands. Your words have upheld him who is stumbling, and you have made firm the feeble knees. But now it has come to you, and you are impatient. It touches you, and you are dismayed. Is not your fear of God your confidence, and the integrity of your ways your hope? Remember, who that was innocent ever perished, or where were the upright cut off? As I have seen, those who plough iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. By the breath of God they perish, and by the blast of his anger they are consumed. The roar of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, the teeth of the young lions are broken. The strong lion perishes for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. Now a word was brought to me stealthily. My ear received the whisper of it, amid thoughts from visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on men. Dread came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones shake. A spirit glided past my face, the hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes. There was silence, then I heard a voice. Can mortal man be in the right before God? Can a man be pure before his Maker? Even in his servants he puts no trust, and his angels he charges with error. How much more those who dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed like the moth, between morning and evening they are beaten to pieces, they perish forever without anyone regarding it. Is not their tent cord plucked up within them? Do they not die in that without wisdom? Call now. Is there anyone who will answer you? To which of the holy ones will you turn? Surely vexation kills the fool, and jealousy slays the simple. I have seen the fool taking root, but suddenly I cursed his dwelling. His children are far from safety. They are crushed in the gate, and there is no one to deliver them. The hungry eat his harvest, and he takes it even out of thorns, and the thirsty pant after his wealth. For affliction does not come from the dust, nor does trouble sprout from the ground. But man is born to trouble, as the sparks fly upward. As for me, I would seek God, and to God would I commit my cause, who does great things and unsearchable, marvellous things without number. He gives rain on the earth, and sends waters on the field. He sets on high those who are lowly, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He frustrates the devices of the crafty, so that their hands achieve no success. He catches the wise in their own craftiness, and the schemes of the wily are brought to a quick end. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope at noonday as in the night. But he saves the needy from the sword of their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor have hope, and injustice shuts her mouth. Behold, blessed is the one whom God reproves. Therefore despise not the discipline of the Almighty. For he wounds, but he binds up. He shatters, but his hands heal. He will deliver you from 6 troubles. In 7 no evil shall touch you. In famine he will redeem you from death, and in war from the power of the sword. You shall be hidden from the lash of the tongue, and shall not fear destruction when it comes. At destruction and famine you shall laugh, and shall not fear the beasts of the earth. For you shall be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. You shall know that your tent is at peace, and you shall inspect your fold and miss nothing. You shall know also that your offspring shall be many, and your descendants as the grass of the earth. You shall come to your grave in ripe old age, like a sheaf gathered up in its season. Behold, this we have searched out. It is true. Hear and know it for your good. So this first attempt to comfort Job comes from Eliphaz. And it seems that he really does care for Job. We saw in chapter 2 how he travelled a long way to come and comfort him and to show sympathy. He wept and tore his clothes when he saw just how terrible Job's afflictions were. And so as he speaks, he wants to remind Job of the man he was and how he was always the one to comfort the weak and distressed. Can Job not now comfort himself with the wisdom that he used to offer others? Is not your fear of God your confidence, and the integrity of your ways your hope? Remember, who that was innocent ever perished? Or where were the upright cut off? Remember, Job, you said it yourself to comfort others. Those that are upright, God does not cut off. Believe this yourself, now that you are the one who is weak. Eliphaz believes this, and it seems that Job formerly believed that bad things do not happen to good people. Eliphaz is using this to encourage Job, but really it is making things worse. Eliphaz says it is the fool who dies, whose children are killed and whose food is entirely taken away. But this is what happened to Job, and Job knows that he is not a fool. So while Eliphaz cares for his friend, these words are falsely condemning him. For all of Eliphaz's wisdom, it seems he too struggles with the thought of an infinitely holy God. He talks of how in the depths of the night a voice comes to him and dread fills him as he is asked, how can man be right before God if even the angels are deemed guilty? And this sort of question runs throughout the Old Testament, as even within the law it is recognised that the blood of animals isn't really sufficient to make us able to stand before God. And this question troubles Eliphaz, even as he should be enjoying the gift of sleep. Eliphaz recognises human frailty, that we are like clay or a tent that can easily be pulled down. And that scares him, and he uses that to try and commend Job to be humble. Eliphaz goes on to say, if I were you, I would seek God and trust him. The picture of God here is a beautiful one. God is shown to be great and marvellous. He cares for those who mourn and are lowly. Yet he does foil the schemes of the crafty. This God is a good God showing mercy and justice. And Eliphaz encourages Job to accept his discipline, because it is only ever to heal his wounds and to save him from destruction. Submit to God, Eliphaz says, and he will give you a bountiful harvest, many descendants, and a long, good life. He says it meaning for Job's good, but it would have been so bitter for Job to hear. Job has trusted God, he has feared God, and yet all of those things, his food, his children, his very life, have been destroyed and taken away from him. In fact, Eliphaz is propounding the same philosophy that Satan accused Job of at the beginning of the book, that Job only fears God for the things that God has given him. This is not true. Job does not fear God for the blessings that God gives, but because God is God. And yet Eliphaz is carrying out Satan's work, unwittingly of course, by telling Job to embrace it. There is a lot of truth in this speech, yet there are fatal errors in it, so that while Eliphaz does care for Job and has a high view of God, he was completely unable to help his friend in desperate need. In Eliphaz's speech, there is no place for innocent suffering. Personal sin leads to personal suffering. If you suffer, it is because you sin. And it's that cause and effect is like an iron link, an unbreakable chain in Eliphaz's mind. However, we know as Christians that this is false. The greatest suffering to ever take place was not on account of that individual's sin, but in fact was because of others' sin. And the result of that suffering was that those sinners did not suffer. So 2 questions. Where else in the Old Testament does that question come up of how can man be in God's presence when he is so holy? And 2, one of the main things that Jesus' suffering accomplished was the forgiveness of sins. Can you see anything that Job's suffering has accomplished?